Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Namah Pranavarthaya Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahanavavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Hari Om Swamiji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vaivasvataya Vrityave Vidyayacharya Brahma Vidyacharya Nachiketa Secha Atha Kathopanishad Vallinam Karta Prabodhanartham Alpagrantha Vrittirarabhyate. Having started with the prayer to Bhagavan, to the teacher, and to Nachiketa, Acharya states his intention in the next verse. It's like a pratigna. He says, Atha Kathopanishad Vallinam Sukhartha Prabodhanartham Alpagrantha Vrittihi Arabhyate. When we read these sentences in Sanskritam, first thing you look for is the verb. The verb here is Arabhyate. He started. And then you analyze it further. What is Arabhyate? What is started? But he says, Vrittihi Arabhyate. Now we saw yesterday what is the Vritti. Vritti is also a Bashyam. But Vritti has some differences between, there are some differences between Vritti and Bhashyam. In the Bhashyam, the Bhashyakara will also look at the Purva Pakshi point of view, take his perspective in the form of questions. Why not? Why can't it be like this? Where the Bhashyakara has given a certain meaning for a word, certain meaning for a sentence or the paragraph. Bhashyakara might raise a question. The Purva Pakshi might try to raise a question saying, why not we look at like this? Why don't we say it is to be interpreted? And Sanskritam offers you that option. When you say you join words, we see a lot of these joined words. The at the end of one word and the at the other beginning of the second word will become dirgha. But this is true whether it is a combination of and or and and or and any combination, the end result is only Now, the difference between adding an at the beginning of the next word and not adding that can diametrically change the meaning. For example, a very poor example, but it exemplifies what we are trying to say. Swadharma, one's own dharma. Oh, dharma is not a good example because you want a. I'm not able to immediately think of an example, but you know what I'm saying. We know when you put an in front of word, many times it changes the meaning to something diametrically opposite. No. I'm not thinking of that because the word we're looking for is one starts with akara. So if you have
Deva Alaya.
No, don't go into that. A word, if you put an in front of a word, it changes. One word that somebody suggested was dharma and adharma. But you can have a word which starting with and you put another in front, making it the negative of that word, it will all become So if you combine those words, previous word ending in and the new word starting in or end result is the same So one could raise a question saying, why not interpret it like that? So the Bhashyakara has to give an explanation why he suggests this as the correct meaning. And how does he do that? He will do it by quoting what is written in various other places. Purva Para, in the same text perhaps, as you will see here, Acharya quotes from the Upanishad, some same Upanishad many times to buttress his argument. Or from other Upanishads and other places in the Vedas. So this kind of questions Purva Pakshi might raise. And when he raises these questions, the Bhashyakara has to defend his explanation for the Mula Grantha. In Vritti, generally, that is not there. The Bhashyakara or Vrittikara simply states his interpretation, maybe gives him justification as well, but will not take up another point of view and argue against it. And this is the style that Bhashyakara follows in writing the Bashyam. Whether it's a Vritti he writes or a Bhashyam he writes. For example, when he writes a Bhashyam for something like Brahma Sutra, there it necessarily has to be analyzed in a much greater perspective. Mimamsa. Every single word is analyzed to shreds. That is the style there. Here also there is analysis, but the analysis is not as deep as you would find in a Bhashyam. So he says, Vrittihi arabhyate. So he's starting writing of a vritti. And the vritti is also a text. The vritti is on the original, the Mula Grantha. On the text, Acharya qualifies the vritti by saying this is the Alpa Grantha. This is not an elaborate, detailed analysis. As it is only a vritti. It is a Alpa Grantha. So what kind of vritti is he writing? He says Alpa Grantha vritti. Then the next question that arises is Alpa Grantha on what? Alpa Grantha vritti on what are you writing? So he says Kathopanishad Vallina. Many vallis are there. Kathopanishad is also called Kathopanishad. It is in the Kataka portion of the Krishna Yajurveda. This is Kathopanishad Vallinam. For all the vallis, this Upanishad comes in 6 vallis. You will see as we study this, it's in the form of a story. At least it starts in the form of a story and then continues in the form of a dialogue between the teacher and the student, the teacher being Lord Yama, Vaivasvata, we saw in the previous prayer verse, and Nachiketa, the student. So, what kind of vritti? Alpagrantha vritti. And on what? Kataka Upanishad Vallina. Of the chapters of the Kathopanishad. Literally, Valli means a vine, a climber. And here Valli is a section. It is actually divided into 2 chapters with 3 vallis each. So a total of 6 vallis. So, Kathopanishad Vallina. When you write anything, this is the subject matter. He says, I am writing a Bashyam or a vritti on Kathopanishad, on all the vallis of Kathopanishad. Why is he writing that? This is such an important statement. And something which I recognized when I started studying these, that these old texts are so systematic. They define what is it that you're writing, what is the result that you're expecting out of the writing, for whom, and what is the connection between the result that you expect and the text itself. Now, very clearly, if it's defined, then you know what you're doing. And this is something we can apply in any work we do. Even today, it's applicable. So one could ask, why are you doing this? Now, we saw that this Mula Grantha, in this case is Upanishad, is not easy to understand. The Mula Grantha, if I say I will study it myself, irrespective of the fact that the person might have very high IQ, reading it by himself is not going to find the understanding that is required. Therefore, you need some help. That help has to come from the Bhashyakara. That help has to come from the Guru, sure. Guru has to unfold this text. But the Guru also finds it so much easier if we have something like Bhashyakara writing the Bashyam. With that Bashyam in hand, the Guru is able to unfold that Upanishad. Why is it so difficult? In even normal texts on subjects which are relevant to the world, sometimes we find very difficult to understand. The deeper and deeper you go into a subject, the more and more difficult it becomes to understand what it says. And therefore, when I say I will study myself, even in the world, a worldly subject, you have the same problem. You read it once, it's not clear. You read it again, still not clear. You read it again, maybe something becomes clearer. Difficult enough by itself. Not only that, if I have to study at very great depth any subject, I must have done the previous steps in order to be able to understand that. Which means I am mentally prepared. Here also that becomes important. But much more than that here, because what you're trying to understand is Brahma Vidya, as we will see. Brahma Vidya is about the subject I. Studying an object, analyzing it to bits and pieces, and understanding each piece and putting together is, relatively speaking, easier. How are you going to study and understand explanation about the I? Therefore, you need something like the Bhashyam of the Bhashyakara, who has already done this exercise for us and opened it up. So he says, I have done this Sukhabodhanartham. Sukhartha Prabodhanartham. Easy to understand. I make it easy to understand and to teach. You know, any subject you take, Microsoft comes up with a new version of Microsoft Office. And then somebody will come up with a book called Microsoft Office 10 for Dummies. You know, a series of dummies books. Saying, even if you don't know too much, even if you're not very intelligent, you can read this and you'll understand. You need that help. Sukhartha Prabodhanartham, I'm writing this. This Alpa Grantha Vrittihi, I'm starting to write. Atha. Here, Atha, the meaning of the word Atha is Idanim. Here, now. Now I start this exercise of writing a vritti. It's an Alpa Grantha on Kathopanishad Ballinam for the purpose of making understanding of this Upanishad and for making the teaching of this Upanishad easier. So, Atha Kathopanishad Ballinam Sukhartha Prabodhanartham Sukhena Artha Prabodhanartham Sulabhena Artha Prabodhanartham Alpa Grantha Vrittihi Arabhyate. So he is essentially outlining what he is going to do in this Bhashyam. Says Alpa Grantha. There are no Purvapakshi arguments. Normally, you will see some of the more elaborate ones, including Bhagavad Gita, great arguments. Sometimes I find their arguments little juvenile, but they are there. Everybody raises objection and then we have case to address them. So for the Upanishad, Sukhena Artha Bodhanartham, I am writing this Alpa Grantha. Having said this, he starts with remember we are still in the introductory Bhashyam, Sambandha Bhashyam. We are not yet taken up the verses of the Upanishad itself. We are only still talking about the introduction to the Bhashyam. And in this Bhashyam, Acharya takes pains to explain why Upanishad is a text for Brahma Vidya. Now, I told you that if you have some basic knowledge of Sanskritam, particularly Paninian grammar, it becomes easier to understand. Now, you will see this. The way the Acharya will write this, if one has some smattering of Sanskritam and Sanskrit grammar, it becomes easier. Acharya says in the next verse, Tader Dhathoho Visharana Gati Avasadhanarthasya
Visharanagati avasadhanarthasya
Upanipurvasya
Upanipurvasya
Vipratyaya
Pratyaya
Antasya
Antasya
Rupam Upanishad Iti.
Rupam Upanishad
Upanishad
iti.
He is going to take this word Upanishad and break it open. What does this is beautiful in Sanskritam. You know, you can take any word and derive that word. Every word is a derivative. That is why, unlike in other languages, in Sanskritam, very difficult to create a dictionary which is all encompassing. So you keep on creating words. Rules are very clear. There are dhatus. Not too many, number 2000 dhatus are there. I mean, the root words, they don't have a value in terms of use in the language by themselves. That is why, for example, when you use a word like Hari Om, Hari is a basic derived dhatu, not a dhatu, it's called a pratipadikam. Arati iti Hari. But that is not a word by itself. That word has to have an additional suffix before it becomes a usable word. What kind of suffix? Two types of suffixes are there. If it is going to be used as a verb, then from the dhatu, you add a verb, well, to make it a verb, you add an additive, a suffix to, for example, if you say pat is a dhatu, pat by itself is not a word you can use in the language. Pat meaning to read. You can only say pathati, for example, he reads, or the two read, or all of them read, or you read, or I read. So these 9 different endings have to be added to make it a word which is meaningful. So he reads, pathati. You read, patasi. I read, pathami. You have to have this ending, it becomes a meaningful word. Otherwise, it is only a root. But you can also create a noun. A noun is created, everything comes from a dhatu only. The whole language starts with the root words. From that, you create a noun. For that, you add certain endings. You create a noun. That noun also is not a usable word yet. That has to go through more modifications because in Sanskritam, if you say Hari, Hari is the base word from which everything would be derived. So if you want to point out to the agent of an action, action we have seen in terms of verb. The agent of an action in singular will be Harihi. Similarly, you have in dual form, we have in plural form also. In Tamil also we say, for example, Hari is the person who is going to do the action. But suppose Hari is the person on whom the action is going to be taken. For example, if you say, call Hari. Now you go to call is the action which you have to perform on Hari. You cannot use Harihi. It will become Harim. Like that, you have all the different, what are called karakas. If you have, for example, you go somewhere, gachati is the verb. By what do you go? How does he go? He goes by two-wheeler. That also is a necessary step in order, because what happens is the word you derive completely defines it. So first we had how to create a verb called thing. All these are shortcuts, mnemonics that Panini has created. Thing represents all the 9 different things. Singular third person, dual third person, plural third person. Singular second person, dual second person, plural second person. Singular first person, dual first person, and plural third person. All 9 are, he calls it thing. And there's a very good logic why he calls it thing, because the first one is the last one is thing. So thing has to be added to the verb, to the root, to make it a verb. And similarly, for a noun, you will have, I'm simplifying the whole thing. You will have these various forms, singular for the agent, dual for the agent, multiple for the agent, like that, each of these, there are 8 such forms that are possible. In Hindi, we used to learn it by saying, these are called Prathama, Dvitiya, Tritiya, etc. Prathama ne Dvitiya ko Tritiya se Chaturthi ke liye, Panchami se Shashti ka ke ki, Saptami se, and Sambodhana Prathama. So it defines the verb, what happens to the verb, what happens to the action. That way itself a complete word then. In every language, we have in some form of doing this. We have to have some form of doing this. You say, for example, walk is a verb. He who walks will become walker. We add an ER pratyaya. Okay, I mean suffix. Like that in every language we have. Talk, talker. In Tamil also we will say nadakkardu will, I suppose, be the verb. Nadakravan would be the one who walks. Like that in other languages also we'll have a method of differentiating these. And how these words are derived, very beautiful. You heard the word Bhugol. Bhugol actually means, literally means a round. Bhu is actually earth. Bhuhu, Bhuha, Swaha. You know that. And Gol means Gola, sphere, a ball. So when language was being spoken, God knows how many thousands of years ago, Bhugol, when you said, you knew that you're talking about a round object, spherical object. When the rest of the world was fighting, saying whether earth is flat or earth is round, we had defined it like Bhugol. Bhugol Vidya is a derived word. Geography. Bhugol Vidya. Like that, a lot of words can be derived from basic roots. Amazing language. So here you have the word Upanishad. So Acharya is going to take it up and split it open and show us how the meaning of the word Upanishad can be derived. Sade dhatoho visharana gatyavasadana tasya upanipurvasya Pratyayantasya Rupam Upanishad iti. What are the components of this? Starts from Sad Dhatu. Sader Dhatoho. Starts from the Dhatu called Sad. Now this itself is a thing to understand. That's why I'm saying some basic exposure to Sanskritam and Panini would make it so much easier to understand. Sad, the original dhatu, is called Shadilr. Panini has come up with beautiful systems where certain letters, he calls them ith letters. They are there in the word, but later in the use, they will not come. So why are they there? They are there because they dictate certain functions, certain changes. Here also, through the rules of grammar that is formulated, the root Shadildr becomes Sad. Shakara becomes Sakara, R goes, so it remains as Sad Dhatu. But you understand it's a very complicated process because this Sad Dhatu eventually becomes Upanishad, again becomes Shad. Started as Shadil, became Sad when it became Dhatu, and finally in the usage it again became Shad, Upanishad. You will see why this happens. There, Sader Dhatoho. Of the Sad Dhatu, what is the meaning of the word Sad, of the Dhatu Sad? Every Dhatu, Panini has defined the Dhatu and given the meaning. Sometimes it will have one meaning, sometimes it will have more than one meaning. These meanings then get used and eventually with all the prefixes and suffixes added might derive its own meaning. Tadher dhatoho. What is the meaning? Visharana gatyavasadanatham. Avasadaneshu is the way he defines it. Visharana gati avasadanam. Three meanings he gives for this word shad or shadilr, the root. Visharana gati avasadana. So three meanings. Visharana is that which disperses, which breaks it into parts. I think the root meaning, root is srij, is the root. And I remember when we were in learning, we used to have NCC those days. I don't know if it's still there. So when in college, you had to go through NCC, National Cadet Corps. And when you're all in formation, finally when the exercise is over, you will say Visarjan. Comes the same Sruj Dhatu. Meaning break up. The whole unit is there. Everybody is in formation in a line in three rows. Comes from the same root, Sruj. So, Visharana, V and Sruj. That which disintegrates. Now, in this Jagat, there is nothing which will not disintegrate. Everything here will disintegrate. Everything will disintegrate. Because everything is only assembled. Being assembled, everything has to disintegrate. But here the meaning is that which disassembles, Visharana, and Gati. Second meaning is Gati. Gati literally means going. But in all languages, we use Gati to also mean knowing, reaching. When the teacher tells something to the student, you might ask at the end of it, did you get it? In fact, in Sanskrit also we say avagatam va. Gati. Has it reached you? Has that knowledge reached you? So Gati is also used for indicating learning, knowing, reaching. So that is the second meaning, Gati. Gam Dhatu. And third meaning is Avasadana. Avasadana literally means destroying. That which gets, that which destroy, little by little, weakening, destroying, all those meanings will come. So, Sadve Dhatoho Visharana Gati Avasadhana Arthasya. It becomes one word. Visharana Gatyavasadhana Arthasya. But when we read, we break it down so we understand what we're reading. That is the Sad Dhatu. And has these three meanings. Acharya will examine each of these three meanings and say how it means, it will eventually mean Brahmavidya. And Upani Purvasya. You have Sad, which has become Shad. Then you have Upa and Ni. Upa, Ni, Shad. That's how we break it up. Upanishad. So it becomes Upa and Ni Purva before the Dhatu. Now, these are also very interesting, this thing. These are suffixes. And these suffixes also have their own meaning. Upa has a meaning, Ni has a meaning, and they have some relevance when applied to this Dhatu called Sad. That also we will examine. Upanishad. Now, Upanishad is a word from the Dhatu where you can say this says that which disintegrates, or not that. In fact, initial meaning will be disintegrating will be the meaning. Going or reaching, destroying. From there, Upanishad, as we know, it is a noun. Upanishad is a text. How does it become a noun? It becomes a noun by adding a certain pratyaya, a certain suffix. We added prefix, upa and ni. Now we'll add a suffix. That suffix is called quip. This quip suffix does something interesting. It takes the verb and converts into the one who performs the action of the verb. Like I told you, we have walk, walker. Pesharde, Pesharavan. In Hindi, I think you don't have a single word for it. Bolna will be the verb. Bolne wala, probably. But in Sanskritam, we have one single word coming out of this, as we do in Tamil also. So in English also we do that. We add one pratyaya called er. Walk, walker. Talk, talker. Sleep, sleeper. One who sleeps, one who walks, one who talks, etc. Interestingly, what happens, sometimes that suffix you add to it converts the verb into a noun, and having done its job, goes away. What is the example? Most common example is cook. Somebody is cooking is the verb. Who is the person cooking? Again, you add the er. So that person should be a cooker. But in practice, what do? The person who's cooking is also called a cook. What happened to the suffix we added, the er suffix? It came, did its job of converting that verb cook to a cooker, one who cooks, and then went away. What is left is only cook. Here also, same way. The quip pratyaya, pratyantasya. The quip pratyaya, once you attach it to this shabda called Upanishad, it changes that into the verb. So what, if you take all the three meanings, disintegrating is one meaning of the, we have not looked at the upa and ni yet, but we will look at it. Of the sad dhatu, visharana is one meaning, disintegrating. One who disintegrates. Or gatyartha means going or reaching. So one who reaches. Or avasadhana, destroying. One who destroys. In all the three meanings, by adding the quip pratyaya, what has happened is the Upanishad plus quip has become the one who does. And this, now the new word that is formed is called Upanishad plus quip. But like in the case of the cook, the quip pratyaya converts into a verb, the one who does. And having converted that, having done its job, goes away. So what happens to the word? The word Upanishad, which we started with, bent to being Upanishad plus quip. Then the quip did a job and went away, is still Upanishad. Cook was there. We added ER to create the person who cooks, and then the ER went away. We again got back cook. Same thing here. Upanishad plus quip. Quip goes away. We still have Upanishad left. So he defines this as, this is the Rupam. There is every word, the Rupam can be shown in Sanskritam. Because we have a derived, the dhatu from which derived, all the processes it undergoes, applying strict rules that are given in the Panini Sutras. And they undergo certain changes and become what we want it to become. So, Sadher dhatoho visharana gatyavasadhanarthasya upani purvasya quip pratyayasya pratyayantasya rupam Upanishad iti. This is how the components of Upanishad are. Shad dhatu, starting from Shadilr, Upa and Ni Purva are there, which they also have some job to do, we will see. Then quip as a suffix, converting into a noun and disappearing, leaving the same word Upanishad, which is the Rupam. This quip pratyaya, we join to the end of the Shad, the word, has now, which was earlier an action word, has now become a actor word, if you want. Then he goes on to explain this further. In the next verse, we will read Upanishad Shabdena.
Upanishad Shabdena.
Upanishad Shabdena Cha.
Upanishad Shabdena Cha.
Vyachikyasita Grantha.
व्याचिख्यासित ग्रंथ
प्रतिपाद्य
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 वेद्य वस्तु विषय
वेद्य वस्तु विषय
विद्योच्यते
विद्योच्यते
vidya uchyate. Again, we look at the verb, it is uchyate. He is called vidya. What does the quip do? Visharati, disintegrates. Gamayati, reaches, makes it reach. Avasadayati, destroys. Who is it who does all that? Who is the doer? Doer need not be a sentient person. Who does it is the Vidya, Brahma Vidya. That Vidya which takes all the three meanings of Shraddhatu by adding the quip pratyaya, creates he who Visharati, Gamayati, Avasadayati, he who makes all these things happen. That is Brahma Vidya. So it says, Upanishad Shabdena Brahma Vidya Brahmatma Tattvam Uchyate is indicated. So Upanishad itself means Brahma Vidya. That Brahma Vidya which does these three actions that the meaning of the word, of the root word Shad or Sad describes. What knowledge? That knowledge which is available in this Grantha, Kathopanishad. That knowledge, Vyachikyasita Grantha Pratipadhya Vedya Vastu Vishaya. That which is to be known, Vedya Vastu. Brahmajnanam. The knowledge of the self. In many of the texts you will find Bhagavan saying, I am the Vedya Vastu available in the Upanishads. That which is to be known, that which one has to know. So, Vyachikyasita Grantha Pratipadhya Vedya Vastu Vishaya Vidya Uchyate. That which is to be known. And I would like to comment upon this Grantha. So, what is the Pratipadhya Vishaya? The Vedya Vishaya is Brahmajnanam. On that, that is what we're trying to reach. Brahmajnanam. I will like to comment upon this knowledge. This can be known only through the Upanishad. And here is one Upanishad called Kathopanishad, which he says is available to us. It is a Vedya Vishaya. What is to be known? Normally, in the Laukika world also, we know there are Vedya Vishaya. Alaukika knowledge also we know. I should know about Swargaloka. And that's available in the Vedas. What is Swargaloka? What kind of Loka is there? What happens there? How to get to that place? All this will be known. Like that, there are many things you know. You want to know what is the team for the Sri Lanka match? Also to be known, no? Where will you find it? Some BCCI document will come. Vedya Vishaya. But here the Vedya Vishaya is not an object to be known. It is you, Brahma, Brahman, I. That Vedya Vishaya, I have to know. But this is unlike all the other things in the Jagat, which are all a limited thing. I need to know this much, that's enough. Here it is not like that. It is, your nature is Purnatvam. That's what Shastra has been telling us. How do I know Purnatvam? How do I understand infinity? Even maths doesn't have a definition for infinity. Even maths, if you write in mathematics, you will say tending to infinity. That's the closest you can get. How do you know infinity? So on that Vedya Vishaya, I will like to comment. We will take it up again in the next class and continue to see what Acharya is saying in this explanation of the word Upanishad before he actually starts the text itself. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.